to Mathematics Tour. This is the 5th video out of the 8 videos on fractions, decimals, and percentages. In this video, I'll show you the 4 ways of subtracting a fraction from another fraction. If you are seeing this channel for the first time, please kindly subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive a notification anytime I upload a new video. Also, like, comment, and share the video. If you have fractions like 4 out of 11, subtract 2 out of 9. It is impossible for you to say 4 minus 2 out of 11 minus 9. It is only possible when you have common denominator. Take for instance 4 out of 7 subtract 3 out of 7. In this case, you can say 4 subtract 3 and write 7 here. So because they have the same denominator, then you can subtract the numerators directly. And your final answer here will be 1 out of 7. So let's look into some examples. We are to evaluate 1 out of 5, subtract 1 out of 6. Let's use the first method, that is LCM. So you just draw a line like this. You multiply 5 by 6, that is 30. Is there a number that can go in both 5 and 6 aside 1? Obviously, there is no any other number. So the LCM is 30. Alternatively, you can use downward division by writing 5 and 6 here. So we find a number that can either go in 5 or 6. So start with 2. So 2 cannot go in 5. We drop 5. 2 goes in 6 3 times. 2 cannot go again. So we'll go to the next number, which is 3. 3 cannot go in 5. So we drop 5. 3 goes in 3 once. And finally, 5 goes in 5 once and repeat 1 here. So the LCM will be 2 by 3, 6. 6 by 5, 30. So the LCM is still 30. So you divide 30 by this 5. So that will be 6 times. Then multiply by the number on top of it, the numerator, which is 1. Then subtract. You divide 30 by this 6. That will be 5 times. Then multiply by the number on top of it, that is the numerator. So that will be 6 by 1 is 6. Then subtract 5 by 1, which is 5 out of 30. And your final answer will be 1 out of 30. So let's look into the second method. That will be cross multiply. So here, what you need to do is to multiply the denominators, that is 5 by 6. So that will be 30. Then next, you multiply 6 by 1, the right hand side here. This order is very important. 6 by 1, you have 6 by 1. So do not do 5 by 1 first, then subtract. Then the next one will be 5 by 1. So that will be 5 by 1. So this will be 6 times 1, 6. Then subtract 5 by 1, 5 out of 30. And your final answer will be 1 out of 30. So let's look into the third method, that is common denominator. So that will be 1 out of 5. So you multiply this fraction by 6 up, by 6 down, then subtract. The next fraction is 1 out of 6. So you also multiply it by this denominator, 5 by 5 here and by 5 here. So that will give us 6 out of 30. Subtract 5 out of 30. So now that they have common denominator, so you can easily subtract the numerators directly. So that will be 6 subtract 5 out of 30. So this will be equals to 1 out of 30. So let's go to the fourth method. So that will be grid method. Okay, so you draw a rectangle like this. Then you divide it into 2 columns and 2 rows. So we rule out this. Then we have 1 out of 5 here. Then we have 1 out of 6 here. So we have 1 by 6, that will be 6. Then you have 5 by 1, that will be 5. Then you have 5 by 6, that will be 30. So this is the LCM, the denominator. So it will be 30 here. Then you connect 5 and 6 together by using the given operator, that is subtraction. So of course, you need the positive value, that will be 6 minus 5. So this will be equals to 1 out of 30. So let's go into example 2. Here we have two mixed numbers. So how do we go about this? It's very simple. So let's look into the first method, that is by LCM. So the first thing we need to do is we'll subtract 3 from 5. That will be 5, take away 3. Then we are left with 3 out of 8, subtract 1 out of 5. So 5 minus 3 gives 2 whole. Then we are left with 3 out of 8 minus 1 out of 5. So the next thing is to find the LCM of 8 and 5. So this is the 2 whole number. Then the LCM of 8 and 5 is 40 by multiplying 8 by 5. That is 40. And there's no number that can go in both 8 and 5 aside 1. That implies that the LCM is 40. And you could also make use of the downward division. So you still get 40 as your LCM. Then now we need to say 40 divided by 8. That will be 5 multiplied by the number on top of it, which is 3. Subtract. Also, we say 40 divided by this 5. That will be 8. Then multiplied by the number on top. That will be 1. So if you scroll down a little bit, so this will give us 2 whole. Then 5 times 3, 15. Subtract 8 times 1, that is 8. Everything over 40. So this will give us 2 whole number. Then 7 out of 40. So let's go to the second method. So that will be cross multiply. Similarly, we need to subtract 3 from 5. That will give us 2 whole number. Then we need to cross multiply by multiplying 8 by 5 to get the denominator. That will be 40. Then we multiply 5 by 3. So that will be 15. That is 5 by 3. Then minus, we also multiply 8 by this 1 here. So that will be 8 by 1. So that will give us 2 whole number. 15 subtract 8 out of 40. And that will give us 2 whole number. 7 out of 40. So let's go to the third method, and that will be common denominator. But the first thing is to subtract 3 from 5. That will be 2 whole number. Then we have 3 out of 8. So we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 5. We have by 5 here and by 5 here. Then subtract the second fraction, which is 1 out of 5. So we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 8. That will be by 8 by 8. So we have 2 whole number. 3 by 5, that is 15 out of 40. Then minus 8 out of 40. Since the two fractions have common denominator, that implies that we can directly subtract the numerators. So that will be 15 subtract 8 out of 40. Then we'll have 2 whole number, 7 out of 40. So that will be the solution. Let's look into the fourth method, which is the last method. So this is grid method. So firstly, we need to subtract 3 from 5. That will be 2 whole number. Then we draw the grid like this. So we divide it into 2 columns and 2 rows. So we rule out this. Then we have 3 out of 8 here. Then 1 out of 5 here. So 3 times 1 is impossible because we have already ruled out this spot. Then we go to 3 times 5, 15. We come to the second row. That will be 8 by 1, 8. Then 8 by 5, that will be 40. Of course, this is the denominator. So we're going to have 2 whole, then the denominator is 40. Then we have to connect these two together by using the given operator, which is subtraction. Of course, we need to get a positive answer. So that will be 15 subtract 8. So we have 2 whole, 7 out of 40. Let's look into the last example, that is example 3. Here, we want to subtract 5 out of 11 from 6. So we can use any of the 4 methods. You get your answer. But there's another shortcut you could use. But before then, let me quickly explain something to you. If you are subtracting a vulgar fraction from a whole, that is 1, so this is the method, the shortcut to it. 1 subtracts 5 out of 7. So you are subtracting a vulgar fraction from 1. So the shortcut to it is to say 7 minus 5, that will be 2. Then out of the denominator, that will be 2 over 7. So that is the shortcut. Similarly, if you are subtracting a decimal fraction in form of a numerator and a denominator from 1, for instance, 1 subtract 2 out of 10. So here, you can easily say 10 minus 2, that will be 8 out of the denominator, which is 10. So this will be the answer, and you can reduce this to 4 out of 5. So anytime you have either a vulgar fraction or a decimal fraction in terms of a numerator and a denominator, so this is the trick to quickly get your answer. So I'm going to use that to solve this question. So instead of having 6 here, I can break it to 5 add 1, so which is still the same thing as the whole number 6 here. Then subtract 5 out of 11. So I can easily do this like this. So if I scroll down a little bit, that means I'm going to have 5 add. So using the shortcut now, so this will just be 11 minus 5. You can say 11 minus 5 out of the denominator, which is 11. So this will be 5 add 6 out of 11. So of course, in the previous video, I showed you that this is the same thing as 5 whole 6 out of 11. So this is the shortcut to that. So this will be the end of this video. In the next video, we'll look into multiplication of fractions.